Drummerly.com Unlimited Drama Series.
The hydraulic press was screaming like a banshee when my phone rang. I should have let it go to voicemail, but something about the way it kept buzzing against my hip made me hit the emergency stop and wipe my greasy hands on my coveralls. Danny speaking. Danny Morrison, you get your ass home right now." Mrs. Weller's voice was shaking, and that woman hadn't been rattled since the tornado of '98. "Some bastard's doing your wife so loud the whole neighborhood can hear it. Your poor Lily just came running to my house crying her eyes out." The factory floor went dead quiet around me. Sparks from Jimmy's welding torch seemed to freeze mid-air. 23 years I'd been married to Sarah. 17 years I'd been running Morrison Steel Fabrication, building this business from nothing while she complained about our house, our car, our life. "You sure about this, Mrs. Weller?" "Danny, honey, I'm looking at his red Mustang in your driveway right now. License plate says Chet 67. Your wife's been carrying on with that sleazy car dealer for months. Half the town knows it except you." I hung up and stared at the half-finished steel beam in front of me. Funny how your whole world can crack like cheap metal under pressure. The guys were all looking at me now, waiting for something. Jimmy killed his torch. "Boss, you okay? Lock up when you're done," I said, grabbing my keys. I got some business to handle. The drive home took 12 minutes. 12 minutes to think about every sign I'd missed. Sarah's new gym membership, her sudden interest in yoga classes, the way she'd started doing her hair different, buying expensive underwear, staying out late with her girlfriends. Mrs. Weller was on her porch when I pulled up, still in her bathrobe, clutching Lily against her chest. My 17-year-old daughter looked like she'd seen a ghost. Her face was streaked with mascara, and she wouldn't meet my eyes. "Daddy, I'm sorry," she whispered. I tried to stop her. I told her it was wrong. "This ain't your fault, baby girl." I kissed the top of her head. She smelled like the strawberry shampoo she'd used since she was little. "You stay here with Mrs. Weller, okay?" The front door was unlocked. I could hear them before I hit the stairs. Sarah's voice, high and breathless, and some guy grunting like a pig. My old boxing trophy was sitting on the hallway table, 25 pounds of brass and marble from when I won the Golden Gloves back in '95. Sarah always hated that trophy, said it made the house look cheap. I kicked open the bedroom door. Sarah was handcuffed to our bed, our goddamn bed where we'd made love 1,000 times, where I'd held her when she had nightmares, where she'd cried in my arms when her father died. Some muscle-bound pretty boy, in designer boxer shorts, was standing there looking like he'd been caught stealing from the church collection plate. "Jesus Christ, Sarah." She had the decency to look ashamed for about 2 seconds. Then her face went hard. "Danny, this isn't what it looks like." "Really? Because it looks like you're screwing some Ken doll in our bedroom while our daughter's home." I hefted the boxing trophy in my right hand. "And you must be Chet." The guy straightened up, trying to look tough. He had the kind of fake tan that came from a bottle and teeth too white to be real. "Look, man, this is between adults. Why don't you just walk away?" I'd been in enough fights to know when someone was all show. This pretty boy had probably never been hit in his life. I smiled at him, the same smile I used to give opponents right before I knocked them flat. "Adults, you're banging another man's wife in his house while his kid's home. That ain't adult behavior, sport." Sarah was fumbling with the handcuffs. "Danny, please, we can talk about this. We can work something out." "Work something out?" I laughed, but it came out bitter. "Like how you've been working things out with Mr. Wonderful here for the past few months?" Chet took a step toward me. "Big mistake. You need to calm down, old man. Nobody has to get hurt here." "Old man?" I swung the trophy in a lazy arc, testing its weight. "I'm 48 years old. I bench press 300 pounds, and I've been in more fights than you've had hot dinners. You really want to dance?" That's when the sirens started. Someone had called the cops. Probably Mrs. Henderson from across the street. That woman called the police if someone parked crooked. Chet was pulling on his pants, trying to look dignified. "This is harassment. I'm calling my lawyer." "You do that." I set the trophy down carefully. No point in giving the cops a reason to arrest me. "But first, let me explain something. This is my house. That's my wife. And you just made the biggest mistake of your miserable life." He buttoned his shirt with shaking hands. "You don't scare me." "I should, because I'm going to destroy you. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. And when I'm done, you'll wish you'd never heard the name Morrison." The police knocked on the front door. Chet pushed past me, and I let him go. Sarah was crying now, big crocodile tears that might have worked on me once upon a time. "Danny, please." I love you. This was just a mistake. No, I said, looking at her like she was a stranger. Marrying you was the mistake. Officer Martinez was a good guy. I'd done some work on his garage a few years back, so he listened when I explained the situation. No charges were filed. Hard to arrest a man for being in his own bedroom. But the damage was done. By morning, the whole town would know that Danny Morrison's wife was stepping out on him. I spent the night at Big Mike's place above the bar. Mike had been my trainer back in my boxing days, and he was the closest thing to a father I'd had since mine died in the steel mill accident when I was 16. You want to talk about it? Mike asked, pouring me a whiskey that could strip paint. What's to talk about? My wife's a cheating whore. My daughter thinks I'm a failure, and half the town's probably laughing at me right now. You ain't a failure, Danny. You built that business from nothing. You raised a good kid. Sarah's problems ain't your problems. I knocked back the whiskey and felt it burn. Feels like my problems. That's because you got pride. Ain't nothing wrong with pride, long as you don't let it make you stupid. The next morning, I went to the factory early, hoping to avoid the stares and whispers. No such luck. The guys tried to act normal, but I could see it in their faces. Poor Danny Morrison. His wife's been making a fool of him for months, and he was too dumb to notice. Around 10 o'clock, Jimmy came over to my office. Boss, you might want to see this. He handed me his phone. Someone had posted a video on Facebook. Grainy cell phone footage of the police cars in my driveway. Sarah crying on the front porch in her bathrobe. Chet walking to his car in yesterday's clothes. The caption read, "Looks like someone got caught with their pants down." It had been shared 47 times. Who posted this? Don't know. Anonymous account. But it's all over town now. I handed the phone back and tried to focus on the invoices in front of me. The numbers swam together like alphabet soup. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. We need to talk. Meet me at Rosie's Diner at noon. Rosie's was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone's business. Sarah was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth wearing sunglasses to hide her puffy eyes. She'd always been beautiful. Blonde hair, blue eyes, the kind of figure that turned heads. But sitting there in that booth, she just looked tired. Thank you for coming, she said. Talk. I filed for divorce this morning. She slid the papers across the table. I'm asking for half of everything. The house, the business, custody of Lily. I read through the legal jargon. She wasn't just asking for half. She wanted it all. You think you deserve my business? The business I built while you sat on your ass complaining about everything? I supported you. I was there when you were nobody. You were there all right. Spending my money, criticizing my friends, making me feel like nothing I did was good enough. I leaned forward. Tell me something, Sarah. How long has this been going on? She looked away. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. How long have you been screwing around behind my back? 6 months, she whispered. Maybe 7. Jesus Christ. I felt like she'd hit me with a sledgehammer. Why? Because you stopped seeing me. You work all the time. You come home tired. You never want to do anything or go anywhere. Chet makes me feel alive again. Chet makes you feel alive. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. That plastic Ken doll with the fake tan and the fancy car? That's what you threw away 23 years for? He's successful. He's got ambition. He treats me like a woman, not a piece of furniture. He treats you like a piece of ass, Sarah. There's a difference. She stood up, her face flushed. I don't have to listen to this. No, you don't. But you're going to listen to this. I'm going to fight you on every single thing. The house, the business, custody. You want a war? You got one. That afternoon, I called my lawyer, Tom Bradley. Tom was a shark in a cheap suit, the kind of guy who'd sue his own mother if the price was right. Danny, I got to be honest with you. In this state, she's entitled to half of everything acquired during the marriage. That includes the business. Even though I built it from nothing. Even though. Unless you can prove she was cheating before you separated. She's got a strong case. I can prove it. Half the town saw that video. That video shows the aftermath. We need proof of the affair itself. Photographs, hotel receipts, witness testimony. And even then, it might not matter. Courts don't like to punish people for adultery anymore. I hung up feeling like I'd been gut punched. 23 years of marriage, and it all came down to who could hire the better lawyer. That evening, I drove by the house, my house, and saw Chet's Mustang in the driveway again. The bastard was already moving in, probably sleeping in my bed, eating off my plates, watching my TV. Lily was sitting on the front porch, and she looked up when she saw my truck. For a second, I thought she might wave, might run over and hug me like she used to when she was little. Instead, she got up and went inside. My own daughter was ashamed of me. The next few weeks were hell. Sarah moved in with Chet, taking Lily with her. The divorce papers kept coming. Motions and counter-motions, depositions and asset evaluations. She wanted everything, and her lawyer was making it happen. Business started dropping off. People in small towns don't like drama, and I was drama central. The Hendersons canceled their deck project. The city pulled their bid for the new playground equipment. Even my oldest customers started finding excuses to go elsewhere. I was sitting in Big Mike's bar on a Thursday night, nursing my third beer and feeling sorry for myself, when Mike sat down across from me. "You look like shit, Danny. Feel like shit, too." "Good. Means you're still alive." He leaned forward. "You remember what I used to tell you before fights? Don't get mad. Get smart." "That's right. Mad fighters make mistakes. Smart fighters win." He tapped his finger on the table. "You've been fighting mad for 3 weeks now. How's that working out for you?" "Not great. Time to get smart then." "What do you know about this Chet character?" I thought about it. He owns Prestige Auto Sales out on Route 9. Sells classic cars to rich assholes from the city. Drives that red Mustang like it's his baby. What else? He's married. Wife's name is Jennifer, I think. They got a couple of kids. Mike smiled. "Now you're thinking. What kind of man cheats on his wife and kids? A selfish bastard." "Right. And selfish bastards always make enemies. You just gotta find them." The next morning, I drove out to Prestige Auto Sales. It was one of those fancy lots with pristine classic cars and prices that could buy a house. Chet was in the showroom, talking to some guy in an expensive suit about a '69 Camaro. I waited until the customer left, then walked in like I belonged there. "Well, well," Chet said, straightening his tie. "If it isn't the ex-husband." "Soon-to-be ex-husband," I corrected. "We ain't divorced yet." "What do you want, Morrison?" "Just wanted to see where my wife's new boyfriend works." "Nice place. Must do pretty well for yourself. Better than some grease monkey with a 2-bit welding shop." I smiled and looked around at the cars. "These are beautiful machines, real works of art. Be a shame if something happened to them." His face went pale. "Are you threatening me?" "Just making conversation. You know, about how fragile beautiful things can be? How easy it is to ruin something that took years to build." "I'm calling the police." "You do that. Tell them I came by to admire your cars." I headed for the door, then turned back. "By the way, does your wife Jennifer know about your extracurricular activities?" E9. That evening I did some research. Jennifer Dalton, she kept her maiden name, was a pediatric nurse at the county hospital. 36 years old, 2 kids, active in the PTA and the church auxiliary. From her Facebook page, she looked like a nice woman who had no idea her husband was a cheating scumbag. I also found out some interesting things about Chet's business. Prestige Auto Sales had been sued twice in the past year for selling cars with undisclosed damage. There were complaints with the Better Business Bureau about bait-and-switch tactics, and according to the county records, he was 3 months behind on his property taxes. Mr. Successful wasn't quite as successful as he pretended to be. I started following him. Not stalking, just observing. I learned his routine, his habits, his weaknesses. Every Tuesday and Thursday, he met Sarah at the Moonlight Motel on the edge of town. Every Friday, he had lunch with some blonde at the country club. On Saturdays, he played golf with the same 3 guys. And every Sunday, he went to church with his wife and kids, playing the role of devoted family man. The more I watched him, the angrier I got. This bastard was living a double life, and everyone was letting him get away with it. Sarah thought he was her knight in shining armor. His wife thought he was a faithful husband. The whole town saw him as a successful businessman. But I knew the truth, and I was going to make sure everyone else knew it too. 3 weeks into my surveillance, I got the break I was looking for. Chet wasn't just cheating with Sarah, he was cheating on Sarah too. The blonde from the country club, a redhead from the next town over, and God knows how many others. I had pictures, I had receipts, I had enough evidence to bury him, but first, I had to deal with my so-called friends. It started at Jimmy's birthday party. I'd known Jimmy for 15 years, considered him one of my closest friends. But when I walked into the VFW hall that Saturday night, the conversation stopped like someone had cut the power. "Danny," Jimmy said, looking uncomfortable. "Glad you could make it. Wouldn't miss it." I looked around the room. All the usual suspects were there. Guys I'd worked with, drank with, considered family. But they were all looking at me like I had a disease. I grabbed a beer and tried to mingle, but it was like walking through a minefield. Conversations died when I approached. People made excuses to walk away. Finally, I cornered Jimmy by the pool table. "What the hell's going on, Jim?" He couldn't meet my eyes. "Look, Danny, maybe you should go home." "Go home? It's your birthday party. I've been to every one for the past 10 years.
She left this in your apron. You didn't even throw it away. You forgot a woman's lipstick in your—
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
Yeah, well, things are different now. Different how? Sarah's been talking to people, telling them about your temper, about how you threatened Chet. People are worried you might cause trouble. I felt like he'd punched me in the gut. You believe her? I don't know what to believe, but Lisa's here tonight, and she's scared of you. Lisa was Jimmy's wife. I'd helped them move into their house. I'd babysat their kids, and now she was scared of me? This is bullshit, Jimmy. You know me better than that. Do I? Because the Danny Morrison I know wouldn't be following people around town, making threats, acting like some kind of psycho. I never threatened anybody. That's not what Chet says. He says you came to his business, threatened to destroy his cars, asked about his wife. That sounds like threats to me. I looked around the room. Everyone was watching now, waiting to see what the crazy man would do. These people I'd considered friends, people I'd helped and supported and trusted, were looking at me like I was the villain. "You want to know what really happened?" I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "My wife was screwing around with a married man in our bedroom while our daughter was home. I caught them in the act, and somehow, I'm the bad guy." "Keep your voice down," Jimmy hissed. "Why? Afraid someone might hear the truth?" I stepped closer to him. "Your buddy Chet is cheating on his wife with at least 3 different women. Sarah's just the latest in a long line. But I guess that doesn't matter, as long as he's buying drinks and playing the big shot. You're drunk, Danny. Go home." "I'm not drunk. I'm pissed off. There's a difference." That's when Bobby Hernandez stepped up. Bobby was a big guy, worked construction, thought he was tough because he could lift heavy things. "You heard Jimmy. Time to go." "Or what? You going to throw me out? If I have to." I looked at these men I'd called friends, saw the judgment in their eyes, the way they'd already decided I was guilty of something. 23 years of marriage down the drain, and I was the one being punished for it. "You know what? You're right. I should go." I set my beer down on the pool table. "But before I do, let me tell you something about your new best friend Chet. He's 3 months behind on his taxes, he's been sued twice for fraud, and he's screwing half the women in this county. But hey, as long as he's not married to any of you, I guess it's none of your business." I headed for the door, but Jimmy grabbed my arm. "Danny, wait, don't leave like this." I shook him off. "Like what? Like a man whose friends turned their backs on him the minute things got tough? Like someone who thought loyalty meant something?" "It's not about loyalty. It's about you acting crazy." "Crazy?" I laughed, but it came out harsh. "You want to see crazy? Keep protecting that bastard. Keep believing my lying whore of a wife. Because when the truth comes out, and it will come out, you're all going to feel real stupid." I walked out of that VFW hall, knowing I'd never be welcome back. These men I'd trusted, worked alongside, shared beers and stories with, had chosen sides, and they hadn't chosen mine. Fine. If they wanted to play it that way, I'd play it that way too. I spent the next week planning. Not plotting, planning. There's a difference. Plotting is what crazy people do. Planning is what smart people do. And I was done being the victim. First, I made copies of all the evidence I'd gathered. Photos of Chet with his various girlfriends, hotel receipts, credit card statements I'd found in Sarah's purse during one of my visits to pick up clothes, bank records showing mysterious cash withdrawals. Then I made a list of everyone who needed to know the truth, starting with Jennifer Dalton. I found her at the hospital during her lunch break. She was sitting in the cafeteria, reading a book and eating a salad. Up close, she was even prettier than her photos. Dark hair, kind eyes, the sort of woman who deserved better than a cheating husband. Mrs. Dalton? I'm Danny Morrison. I think we need to talk. She looked confused. I'm sorry, do I know you? No, but you know my wife, Sarah Morrison. She's been sleeping with your husband for the past 7 months. Her face went white. The book slipped from her hands. Excuse me? I sat down across from her and pulled out a manila envelope. I've got pictures, receipts, witness statements. Your husband's been cheating on you with multiple women, including my wife. She stared at the envelope like it might bite her. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know the truth. And because I'm tired of being the only one getting screwed over in this situation. With shaking hands, she opened the envelope. I watched her face as she looked through the photos. Chet and Sarah at the motel. Chet and the blonde at the country club. Chet and the redhead at a restaurant in the next town. Oh God, she whispered. How long have you known? About Sarah. 3 weeks. About the others? Just recently. She was crying now. Quiet tears that broke my heart. I thought we were happy. I thought he loved me. Maybe he does, in his own selfish way. But he loves himself more. She wiped her eyes with a napkin. What are you going to do with these? That depends on you. You can confront him, file for divorce, pretend it never happened, whatever you want. But I'm not keeping his secrets anymore. 2 days later, I heard through the grapevine that Jennifer had kicked Chet out of the house. He was staying at the Moonlight Motel, the same place where he'd been meeting Sarah. The irony was beautiful, but I wasn't done. Next, I paid a visit to the county tax assessor's office. Chet's property tax delinquency was a matter of public record, but not many people knew about it. I made sure the information found its way to the local newspaper's business reporter. Then I contacted the Better Business Bureau and the State Attorney General's office about the complaints against Prestige Auto Sales. Turned out there were more than I'd originally found, a lot more. I also made some calls to Chet's suppliers and creditors. Amazing how quickly word spreads when people think a business might be in trouble. Within a week, Chet's world was falling apart. The newspaper ran a story about his tax problems. The state launched an investigation into his business practices. His bank called in a loan. 3 of his biggest customers canceled orders. And Sarah was starting to see her knight in shining armor for what he really was, a broke, desperate man who'd been lying to everyone, including her. She called me on a Thursday night, crying, Danny, I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. Can we talk? About what? About us. About fixing this. I almost laughed. Now you want to fix things? After you humiliated me in front of the whole town? After you tried to take my business? I was confused. Chet promised me things, made me believe we could have a different life. But he lied about everything. His business is failing. His wife took the kids and moved back to her mother's. He's got nothing. And now you want to come crawling back to good old reliable Danny? Please. I know I don't deserve it, but I love you. I've always loved you. No, Sarah. You loved what I could give you. The house, the security, the respectability. But you never loved me. That's not true. It is true. And you know what? I'm done being your safety net. You made your choice. Live with it. I hung up and poured myself a whiskey. For the first time in months, I felt good about something. The town's annual Founders' Day festival was coming up. A big outdoor event with food vendors, live music, and a stage where local politicians gave speeches nobody listened to. It was the kind of gathering where everyone in town showed up, including all my former friends who'd turned their backs on me. Perfect. I'd been planning this for weeks. I had connections, guys who owed me favors, people who worked for the city, vendors who'd used my services over the years. It wasn't hard to arrange for some technical difficulties with the sound system. Difficulties that would require my expertise to fix. The festival was in full swing when I showed up with my toolbox. The mayor was trying to give his annual speech, but the microphone kept cutting out. The sound technician was pulling his hair out. Need some help? I asked. Danny, thank God. This thing's been acting up all morning. It took me 5 minutes to fix the problem I'd created. But while I was behind the stage, I made a few additional modifications to the system. Connected my laptop to the soundboard. Set up a wireless connection to the big screen they used for announcements. Then I waited. The crowd was huge. Probably half the town was there. I could see Sarah and Chet near the food trucks, trying to look happy together. Jimmy and his wife were by the beer tent with the rest of my former friends. Even Jennifer Dalton was there with her kids, trying to put on a brave face. At exactly 2 o'clock, during the lull between the mayor's speech and the start of the live music, I activated my laptop. The big screen flickered to life, and suddenly everyone was looking at high-definition photos of Chet with various women in compromising positions. The crowd went silent. Then the murmuring started. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said into the wireless microphone I'd clipped to my shirt, "I'd like to share some information with you about one of our prominent local businessmen." My voice boomed across the festival grounds. Everyone was staring at the screen now, at the evidence of Chet's infidelity displayed for all to see. This is Chet Dalton, owner of Prestige Auto Sales. The woman in the first photo is my wife Sarah. The woman in the second photo is Amanda Pierce from the country club. The woman in the third photo is Rebecca Santos from Millfield. I clicked to the next slide. Bank records showing Chet's financial problems. Mr. Dalton is currently 3 months behind on his property taxes and has been investigated by the state for fraudulent business practices. He's been lying to his customers, his creditors, and his family for months. The crowd was buzzing now. I could see Chet pushing through the people, his face red with rage. Sarah was right behind him, looking mortified. But the real story, I continued, is about loyalty, about friendship, about how quickly people turn their backs on you when things get tough. I clicked to another slide, screenshots of social media posts, text messages, conversations I'd recorded. These are some of the people who decided I was the villain in this story. People who chose to believe a lying, cheating con man over someone they'd known for years. Jimmy's face appeared on the screen, along with Bobby Hernandez and a dozen others. The messages were all there. The gossip, the judgment, the way they'd talked about me behind my back. "Morrison!" Chet had reached the stage. "You're done." He tried to climb up, but I was ready for him. I'd been ready for this moment for weeks. "Come on up, Chet. Tell everyone how I'm the bad guy. Tell them how you're the victim." He swung at me as soon as he reached the stage. I saw it coming from a mile away, sloppy, telegraphed, the punch of a man who'd never been in a real fight. I stepped aside and let his momentum carry him past me, then grabbed him by the shirt and spun him around to face the crowd. "This is your hero, folks. This is the man you chose over me." I shoved him hard. He stumbled backward, tripped over a speaker cable, and went down hard. The crowd gasped. "Danny, stop!" Sarah was on the stage now, tears streaming down her face. "Please, just stop." "Stop what? Telling the truth? Showing people who you really are?" I looked out at the crowd, at all those faces staring back at me. "You all wanted to know what kind of man I am? This is what kind of man I am. I'm the kind who fights back. I'm the kind who doesn't roll over and play dead when people screw me over." Chet was getting to his feet, blood trickling from his nose. "You're insane. You're a psychopath." "No, I'm just someone who got tired of being everyone's punching bag." I turned back to the microphone. "You all made your choice. You picked sides. You decided I was the problem. Well, congratulations. You got what you wanted." I could see the police pushing through the crowd now. Time to wrap this up. I built a business in this town. I employed people, paid my taxes, supported local charities. I was a good husband, a good father, a good friend. But none of that mattered when the chips were down. So I'm done. Done with this town. Done with these people. Done with pretending that loyalty and friendship mean anything. I unplugged my laptop and stepped away from the microphone. The crowd was in chaos, people shouting, pointing, taking pictures with their phones. Sarah was sobbing. Chet was holding his bloody nose and screaming threats, and I felt better than I had in months. Officer Martinez reached the stage as I was packing up my equipment. "Danny, I got to take you in." "I know." I handed him the microphone. "Just let me say goodbye to my daughter." Lily was standing near the stage, staring at me with wide eyes. She looked scared, confused, but also something else. Something that might have been respect. "Daddy? I'm sorry you had to see this, baby girl. But sometimes a man's got to stand up for himself, even when everyone tells him he's wrong." She hugged me then, tight and fierce. "I love you, Daddy. I love you too, more than anything." As Martinez led me away in handcuffs, I looked back at the chaos I'd created. The big screen was still showing the evidence of Chet's lies. People were arguing, pointing fingers, choosing new sides. Sarah was sitting on the stage steps, her head in her hands, and for the first time in months, I was smiling. They kept me in jail for 3 days, disturbing the peace, assault, harassment. Tom Bradley got me out with a plea deal and community service, Small price to pay for the most satisfying moment of my life. The fallout was everything I'd hoped for, and more. Chet's business collapsed within a month. The state investigation turned up enough fraud to put him away for 2 years. His wife divorced him and moved back east with the kids. Sarah tried to reconcile, but I was done with her. The divorce went through 6 months later. I kept the business and the house. She got enough money to start over somewhere else, which is exactly what she did. My former friends tried to apologize, but it was too late for that. Jimmy stopped by the shop a few times, wanting to explain, wanting to make things right. I listened politely and sent him on his way. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. I sold the business and the house and moved to Florida. Bought a small marina and started fixing boats instead of steel. Lily visits every summer and some holidays. She's in college now, studying engineering, and she's proud of her old man. The town still talks about that day at the festival. I heard they moved the event to a different location, installed better security. Funny how one man with a laptop and a wireless microphone can change everything. People ask me if I regret it. The public humiliation, the scorched earth approach, the way I burned down my entire life just to get revenge. Hell no. Sometimes a man's got to stand up and fight, even when the whole world's against him. Sometimes you got to be the villain in everyone else's story to be the hero in your own. And sometimes, when people push you too far, you got to push back twice as hard. And that's exactly what I did. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat.